The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly, a tapestry of darkness punctuated by glittering stars. Amidst this cosmic sea, a lone spacecraft drifted silently, its metallic hull reflecting the faint glow of a nearby nebula. Inside, a human sat at the controls, scanning the monitors with a mix of determination and weariness. Captain Elias Vance had seen many things in his years as an explorer, but nothing quite like what he was about to encounter. A distress signal had led him to a barren moon orbiting a gas giant. The signal was weak, erratic, as though whoever, or whatever, had sent it was barely holding on. Elias had no idea what to expect, but his curiosity and duty as a spacefarer propelled him forward. As his ship descended onto the dusty terrain, his sensors picked up a small life form huddled beneath a jagged outcrop of rock. Approaching cautiously, he was taken aback by the sight before him. A tiny, trembling alien girl, her luminous blue eyes wide with terror. Her emerald-green skin shimmered faintly under his ship's landing lights, and her delicate fingers clutched at the ragged remains of what seemed to be a survival suit. Elias crouched, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. "Hey there, little one," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not here to hurt you. Are you alone?" The alien girl flinched, her antennae twitching wildly. In her own language, she muttered a rapid stream of words that Elias couldn't understand. His suit's translator struggled to keep up, patching together a rough approximation. "No eat, please, no eat." He frowned, puzzled. "Eat you?" he repeated. "Why would I do that?" The girl didn't respond, only curled further into herself, pressing against the cold rock as if she could melt into it. Elias sighed. He had encountered many species during his travels, and he knew fear when he saw it. Whoever this child was, she had been through something harrowing. With slow precision, he set down his emergency rations, ensuring they were within her reach but far enough away that she wouldn't feel threatened. Then, he backed up, giving her space. "If you're hungry, it's yours," he said, then sat down on the ground, showing he had no intention of forcing anything. Minutes passed. The girl watched him warily, her large eyes darting between him and the food. Hunger eventually won over fear. She scuttled forward, snatched the package, and retreated to her rock. With delicate fingers, she tore at the wrapping and sniffed at the contents. A moment later, she devoured it in desperate bites. Elias suppressed a smile. "Good, huh?" The girl glanced up, her expression unreadable. She spoke again, slower this time, and the translator worked to refine her words. "You? Not eat me?" He chuckled, shaking his head. "No, kid. I'm not a monster." She studied him, something shifting in her demeanor. The fear, while not entirely gone, was no longer all-consuming. Elias could see the gears turning in her mind. He decided to take a chance. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then murmured, "Ka'Leena." "Ka'Leena," he repeated, tasting the foreign syllables. "That's a beautiful name." "I'm Elias." Ka'Leena blinked at him, her antennae relaxing slightly. He could tell she was still wary, but he had crossed an invisible bridge between them. And that was a start. Days passed as Elias worked to repair his ship, and in that time, Ka'Leena slowly warmed to him. She spoke more, though much of it was still fragmented through the translator. What he did piece together told a story of loss. Her people had been attacked, their vessel destroyed. She had escaped in a pod, only to crash land on this desolate moon. Elias vowed to help her find any survivors, but deep down, he suspected she was the last of her kind. One evening, as they sat beside a small fire within the ship's cargo bay, Ka'Leena asked something that made Elias pause. "Why, help me?" He stared into the flickering flames, collecting his thoughts. "Because it's the right thing to do," he finally said. "Because I know what it's like to be alone. And because I want you to see that not all humans are as scary as you think." Ka'Leena tilted her head, considering his words. Then, in a gesture that surprised him, she reached out and placed her tiny hand over his. Elias good. Something warm settled in his chest. He had set out on this journey alone, but now, in this strange and unexpected way, he had found something more. A purpose beyond exploration. a connection that transcended species. And perhaps, just perhaps, a new beginning for them both. As the days turned into weeks, Ka'Leena began assisting Elias in small ways around the ship. Her natural agility made her an excellent climber, allowing her to reach compartments that Elias struggled with. She was eager to learn, watching him closely as he worked on the ship's systems. Over time, their conversations grew deeper, the translator refining its grasp on her language. One evening, as they were repairing a damaged thruster, Ka'Leena suddenly stiffened. Her antennae quivered, and her eyes darted toward the sky. "Something coming," she whispered. Elias tensed, checking his scanners. Sure enough, a massive ship was approaching, its silhouette dark against the stars. "Friend or foe?" he muttered, flipping switches to ready his ship for takeoff. Ka'Leena's expression darkened. "Bad." The word sent a chill through Elias. He didn't need more explanation. Whatever was coming, it wasn't friendly. And they had to get out of there, fast. Elias quickly activated the ship's engines, bringing them online with a low hum. The ship's thrusters flared, kicking up clouds of dust as they prepared to lift off. "Strap in," he ordered Ka'Leena, his voice calm but firm. As they ascended, the massive ship loomed closer, its ominous form dwarfing them. A garbled transmission came through, words laced with static and aggression. "Surrender, or be destroyed." Ka'Leena gripped Elias's arm, her voice barely above a whisper. "We run?" Elias's jaw clenched. "We fight." The enemy ship opened fire, crimson energy blasts streaking through the void. Elias swerved, narrowly avoiding the first barrage. "Hold on," he barked, yanking the controls. Ka'Leena shrieked as the ship spiraled. Alarms blared. Elias pushed the engines to their limit, diving toward a dense asteroid field. "They're bigger, but we're faster," he muttered. "Let's see if they can keep up." The hostile ship followed, weaving through the debris. Elias maneuvered between tumbling rocks, using the asteroids as cover. A missile whizzed past, detonating against a massive boulder. Ka'Leena's fingers dug into the seat. "Elias, I see it," he snapped. His fingers flew over the controls. Time for a surprise. He activated the ship's rear cannons, firing a spread of ion blasts. The enemy vessel dodged most, but one shot struck home. The hostile ship shuddered, its shields flaring. Elias grinned. "Not so tough now, are you?" But the battle wasn't over yet. The enemy recovered, closing in for another attack. Ka'Leena's eyes widened. "Elias, another way?" He considered. Then it hit him. "Maybe. Hang tight." Elias angled the ship toward the largest asteroid, a plan forming. If they played this right, they just might survive. He braced himself. "Ka'Leena, trust me." She nodded, fear and determination mixing in her gaze. Elias executed the maneuver, skimming the asteroid's surface, hoping their pursuers would make a fatal mistake. Elias's heart raced as he expertly guided the ship along the surface of the asteroid, narrowly avoiding massive chunks of rock that seemed to appear out of nowhere. The enemy ship followed, but they were gaining on him. He could feel the weight of the ship's desperation, the metallic creaks and groans beneath his feet, the vibrations of the engines pushing beyond their limits. "Ka'Leena, hold on," Elias shouted, his voice tight with concentration. The asteroid ahead loomed larger, its surface jagged and uneven. It was their only chance. As the enemy ship closed in, the massive rock offered a sliver of hope, a shadow, a place to hide. Elias tilted the ship's nose, bringing them into a steep dive. The ship's belly scraped against the asteroid's surface, sending up showers of dust and debris. Ka'Leena's grip tightened on her seat as the ship jerked and rattled, but she didn't make a sound. The enemy followed, too eager to finish them off. The hostile ship was gaining ground, its weapons systems locking on for a final strike. "Now!" Elias shouted. With a swift motion, he pulled the lever that ejected the ship's rear missile, sending it on a direct course toward the asteroid they were diving towards. The blast echoed in the void, and the asteroid shattered in an explosion of rock and dust. The debris created a thick cloud, shrouding their ship in the chaos. Elias pushed the throttle to its maximum, twisting the ship sideways, hoping to avoid the oncoming fire. The enemy ship fired again, but the explosion of the asteroid had bought them precious seconds. Their attackers struggled to adjust to the new, rocky environment. "Come on," Elias muttered, praying their maneuver would work. A missile flew past, missing them by inches. The pursuing ship, having underestimated Elias's move, struggled to navigate through the wreckage. One of their engines took a hit from the debris. "Got it." Elias grinned, but he didn't let up. He angled the ship toward a small cluster of asteroids, diving deeper into the field to obscure their escape. Behind them, the enemy ship's silhouette grew smaller and smaller. Their guns fired again, but this time, it was too late. The massive vessel, now disabled, veered off course, unable to keep up. Elias's breath caught in his throat as he finally leveled off, taking the ship out of the asteroid field and into open space. The pursuit was over, at least for now. He looked to Ka'Leena, her wide eyes fixed on him, her face pale but filled with awe. Did we lose them?" she asked, her voice trembling. Elias nodded, his smile barely hidden beneath his exhaustion. "Yeah, we did. We're safe for now." Ka'Leena let out a breath, her shoulders relaxing. But then, as if realizing something, her eyes widened, and she looked back at the distance where the enemy ship had once pursued them. "Their signal," she whispered. Elias blinked, suddenly alert. "What about it?" "They're still sending it. But it's different now. A distress signal, not an attack." Elias frowned. That wasn't right. After everything they had been through, it seemed impossible that the enemy ship had suddenly shifted to a position of weakness. His instincts told him there was more to this than met the eye. "Let's check it out," he said. "I don't like this." As they turned back toward the source of the signal, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that this was all part of a bigger plan. His fingers hovered over the ship's controls, heart pounding. The mystery wasn't over. It was just beginning. The ship moved cautiously toward the origin of the new signal. It wasn't far. And there, hidden in the shadow of a massive gas giant, was something Elias hadn't expected. A second ship. Smaller, sleeker, but unmistakably a craft of the same hostile species. "This is getting weird," Elias muttered to himself. Ka'Leena looked to him, her expression grave. "They? No, we're coming." Elias didn't reply. He was too busy analyzing the incoming transmission. It was weak, but clear enough to decipher. A voice, crackling with static, came through. "Help. Please. We're stranded. We mean no harm." The voice sounded human. Elias's blood ran cold. "Are they?" he started, but Ka'Leena cut him off. "No, they are not human. But the message," her eyes narrowed, antennae twitching. "It is unfamiliar, yet familiar." "Stay sharp," Elias said, flipping several switches to activate their shields and weapons, just in case. The ship approached the distress signal, the tension in the air palpable. Whatever awaited them, Elias knew it wouldn't be easy. As they came within range, a figure emerged from the small craft, a humanoid figure, but clearly not human. It was another alien, cloaked in a tattered suit, kneeling in front of the ship's damaged airlock. Elias hesitated for only a moment before activating the comms. "This is Captain Elias Vance. We've received your distress signal." "Who are you?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. The alien's eyes met his through the visor, and the figure's voice cracked through the comms. "I am not your enemy. I was once, but no more. I seek only peace." Elias's mind raced. The alien's words echoed Ka'Leena's story of loss, of survival. He felt something shift inside him, an understanding of a shared, painful past. Ka'Leena spoke then, her voice soft but resolute. "We are not alone anymore." And with that, the chapter closed. But Elias knew that this was not the end. It was only the beginning of something new, a chance for redemption, for alliances, and perhaps for healing. As the stars stretched out before them, Elias turned the ship toward the unknown. The universe was vast, but for the first time in a long while, he didn't feel so alone.